Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists that it is completely possible to have a great career in the arts. And if you ever want to tune in and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just check out the schedule over at facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process, from coming up with an idea to finding a wall to paint it on to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. And that's it, so let's get on with the show. This week's episode features up-and-coming muralist in Marshfield, Missouri, Samantha Cox. I've been waiting about 3 months to record this episode with her, and I could not be more excited to now call one of my dear friends a full-time artist. Just a bit of a background, Samantha and I have known each other for about 8-ish years now, and I made it my mission to have her go full-time in her art business just recently. I've always kind of hinted at it with her, and actually episode number 25 of this podcast, which is all about being multi-passionate, that episode revolved around a conversation that I had with Samantha like a year ago when she was still just trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. I knew that she wanted to do art full time, but I also knew that she just didn't believe it was possible for her. And things have happened in the past couple months to really push her towards now having a job that she genuinely loves. So we do our best to dissect exactly how she got here. And truthfully, I told her this a few months ago when we first started out this process, but I was looking for someone who I could mold into this role and someone that I could, just turn full time and show other potential students what's possible. And she is a great example of someone who dove into the academy and put everything into action and is now reaping the benefits of her efforts. If this doesn't convince you to start painting murals, then I don't know what will. But let me know what you think of this week's episode with Samantha Cox. So I have Samantha here with me in my studio, and we're doing a little bit of a different style of episode today. I'm not interviewing someone on Instagram or through any other platform. We're actually sitting here next to each other, so it's a little different. But we're just going to start by having Samantha introduce herself and tell a little bit about how she got into the art world, like we always start.
Hi, I'm Samantha Cox. I'm from Marshfield, Missouri, and I don't know, art's always been something I'm really interested in, and I met Andrea and a few years ago, and she's like, you should do it full time, and I'm like, oh no, I couldn't, and now I am, and it's amazing. So
yeah, okay, so awesome. So let's bring that all the way back to when were you, so you said you were interested in art in high school.
Yeah.
And then once it kind of came time to go to college, I think like everybody, like I did even, I was like, I can't be a full-time artist, so I'm going to study business, or I'm going to try to be a teacher and whatnot. I think you kind of had a similar thing as to where you were like, well, I can't do art, so what else can I do?
Exactly. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in art, but I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I remember asking my high school art teacher, I'm like, hey, is there a career in this? And he's like, yeah, if you want to be like a commercial artist. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know about that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just figure it out in college. And so I went to college and I took as many art classes as I could. And I just got my associates, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just, go to, get my bachelor's and figure it out then. And I just never figured it out, never went back to it. And it just kind of has been something that's just hanging around and always been on my mind, and it just never went anywhere because I didn't really know.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone who knows me knows that I love art. I just never could put it into a career before now, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so fun now. Yeah. Now we paint together all the time.
I know.
So, and I just want to kind of go back a little bit too, because you were really, so we started this in first of April? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it February, March, April? Yeah, April, May, June. So about 3 months. So you went from 0 to 100 in 3 months.
So fast. Yeah. Oh my gosh,
I think I might label that as the episode title or something, like 0 to 100 in 3 months. Yeah. So, and I think that's really inspiring to a lot of people because it happened really quickly for you. Mm-hmm. And so let's go back to 0. Like, let's go back to when COVID hit and how I know a lot of people are affected by COVID and stuff. But we're going to talk about the perks of it for this episode and just how it has helped you get into the art world.
Yeah. I would not be doing this without it. And it's kind of crazy. I had a intense office job right before this. And I just remember thinking, okay, I do not want to be here at all. Like all day long, I'm like, man, it's just going against what comes naturally to me. I just did not like it. And then COVID hit, and I was sitting at home, and I'm like, gosh, I don't have anything to do. And then Andrea messaged me, and we were just talking about normal stuff, and she mentioned she was doing the YMCA mural downtown, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I'd love to come help you. And she's like, oh yeah, come help me. I'm like, okay, great. And it just kind of like perfect went from there. Yeah. So I helped her a little bit that day, and it went from there. I mean, my goodness. I was like, hey, if you have anything else I can help you with? And she's like, yeah. And then can I join the Artist Academy? And she's like, yeah. And so I had all this extra time to look through that and then start gathering materials. And it just became more and more real. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have all the time to do this. What if I do it? What if I pull it off? What if I start now? And yeah, it just happened. Yeah.
And you had me being in the background being like, you could go full time. Like, you could do this. And I was so set on you because I remember I was talking to Ryan about this the other night too. I was like, actually, I remember when we were working on the pizza wings shortly after the YMCA mural, and I was like, I want you to go full-time so bad that I will hire you. Yeah. I was like, okay, you figure out how many hours a week I need to hire you in my business, and that way you can be doing art, and that way you're building your own. And it's so funny to think back on that, because now I don't need to hire you at all. You have your own stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we have our stuff too, but it's just like, that's a great pressure off of me too, but I wanted you to go full-time so bad that I was like, I'll pay you to help me.
See, you're amazing. Without your encouragement, I would have never done it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, seeing all the things that you do, I was like, she's got the best job in the world. I'm like, I just don't have time for that, but I do. Yeah. Like, all I had to do was set aside time for it. And yeah, in the beginning it was scary, but COVID was going on, so I really couldn't do anything else. So that kind of took the fear away. But at the same time, it was still kind of there. I have a family now, and it's like, oh, well, how do I contribute to my family and do something I love at the same time? I mean, there was a little bit of sacrifice. Of course, now the ball is rolling and everything's fine and there's no fear at all, but it's just one of those things where you kind of set that aside. And my husband was he's like my biggest cheerleader. He's all about it. Between him and Andrea, I have all the support I could ever need. So, it's been a really beautiful process. I was actually driving yesterday to a mural that I'm doing now, and I was like getting teary-eyed. I'm like, I'm going to work. Like, I'm going to work.
Yeah, awesome. I remember I had one of those experiences when I was in Hobby Lobby buying art supplies for one of my first job times, and I was like, I'm buying stuff for my job. Like, this is so fun. Like, I was picking up paintbrushes and like that. I'm like, this is so great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's talk about that really quick too. Like, you have a husband and a little boy.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I could imagine, just because it's a little bit easier for a single person to do this, but if you have a family that relies on you, like, I can't even relate to that pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, it took a lot of, my husband's encouragement, because for me, I'll work myself to death. I'll work an office job in something I hate for as long as possible for my family. So he's like, you can do this. I'm like, no. He's like, yes. Yes, you can. And then I had Andrea in my ear too, and I'm like, okay, all right, I will. And there's a lot of times where it is hard. The big mural I was working on, I had my son there, after daycare. He's just like chilling out with his little tablet, and I'm like, okay, how long can I have him be chill? How much work can I get done? And then I've taken him to a couple of like projection chalk outs too, and he hangs out, and yeah, it's hard.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the husband part of it too, because we are very similar in a lot of ways, and even to the point where our husbands are our biggest cheerleaders, mm-hmm. and without them it would be so much harder. And I just want to be really honest about that too, because our husband's support is part of the reason why we've been able to do things so quickly. I mean, with Ryan and Chris, your husband too, like, they play a major role. It's not everything. They don't paint it for us. But with the support and helping make the connections and the cheerleading and just the help in general, it does help a lot. And so when someone doesn't have a supportive partner, I'm like, that's fine, but find one. Whether it's like, I'm not saying divorce your husband, but find a coach or something. Or somebody in your area that has some more connections than you, or like a really good friend or something. But I just wanted to say that really quick too, because that has definitely helped you go from 0 to 100 in 3 months. Like, that was a big one.
Oh yeah, and especially like in Marshfield, he is very well known in Marshfield, and then he's got sales background, so everywhere we go, he's promoting my pages and handing out my business cards before I can say anything, and all I have to do is smile and wave. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to paint something for you, because he is just all about it, and it's amazing. It takes a lot of pressure, a lot of stress off of you, because you have that strong support system, and it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, for sure. We were just at sushi the other night, actually, and Ryan was there, and he was, like, pitching the ideas of, like, we can paint a rainbow on your wall to this, like, sushi place. Yeah. So, and whether that happens or not, that's how he is all the time. And so it just helps when you have somebody that's just advocating for you. But while we were at the sushi place, we were actually celebrating the first mural that Samantha painted. And so let's talk about that, because that is another huge thing that has played a big role in you going full-time in such a short time, as painting that mural and in public and just everything that came with it. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So Andrea got me all involved in that. The beautification committee in my hometown called her, and they wanted her to start this beautification process in Marshfield, like Springfield, bringing a lot of murals and colors to Marshfield. And it was an awesome project, and that's where I live, so she called me, and she's like, hey, you want to do this with me? I'm like, yeah, I definitely do. That's when I was, like, trying to help with her as much as possible and, like, learn as much as possible. I was so rusty. And so we went and met with them together, and Andrea, on the way out, she's like, you just let me know how much help you want with this, and we'll just run with it. We created a mock-up together, and they wanted it in the perfect spot. Like, as soon as you enter town, it's at the very end of the spur, they call it, which is like a main street. So the whole time I was doing it, the entire town seen me. And I have not talked to someone who said they did not see me. Everyone seen me painting.
Oh, really?
Yes, okay. Everyone. They're like, oh, I seen you. Yeah, with the teal hat and black pants.
Yes, the black pants. Yes, with paint all over them. Yes,
right. So, just the location, everything about that mural skyrocketed. everything, because I had businesses stopping by, hey, can you do a logo? I had, just friends coming by and be like, hey, do you do this? I have a person who needs something, and I've gotten so much work from that. Even in surrounding towns, because I have friends in Seymour and Fordland too, so everything being so close and posting stuff on social media, it just kind of took off, and just everything about it, especially its size. They're like, oh my gosh, it's huge. You're like, yeah.
It is huge. It's like, 30 feet by 8 feet or something like that?
Yeah.
So pretty big for your first ever mural. Pretty big. Yeah, and I think that just being so public and in just the perfect part of town, like she mentioned, everything, like everybody going by is seeing what she's doing, and even people who don't even know her, they're stopping by if they have a project in mind, and that's how she got a lot of jobs. And so that is why we are doing the mural month in the Artist Academy this month, because it really, really, really can propel your art career so quickly, and this is a great example of that.
Yes.
Simply by painting out in public, in a very public spot. I mean, there were like roads on both sides and people just going by, and there were loud trucks all day, and that was kind of annoying, and there were people stopping by just to talk and all of that, but there was a lot of good that came out of that, because I mean, even one day one guy was like, hey, do you guys paint cars? Like, he saw that we were painting cars, and he's like, I have a car, can you paint this car? Like, and just tons of jobs, and now she's booked out for a while because she painted for, and it took, 2 weeks. You were probably out 2.5 weeks, 3?
2.5. Yeah.
So every day for about 2.5 weeks. I mean, it went throughout like a month, but so probably 20 days total. She was out there, and she didn't get a job every day, but most days the people were stopping by. That's why if you know a spot in your hometown that needs a mural, like, do everything you can to go paint on it or go figure it out. And that's what we're doing in the Artist Academy. Just want to plug that really quick, because we're going to show people how to pitch yourself, how to create a really good idea, how to paint it, how to everything. And so yeah. Yeah, because it works. I'm so passionate about this. It works so much, because street art like this is what has propelled my career too. And just painting outside, like I know there's, okay, so how do I say this? Every job that I painted outside, in a public area, I've gotten another job from it. Every single one of them. Like, I mean, if it's not in a public place, I probably won't get a job from it, but if it's in a public place, I've definitely gotten a job from it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and just when they pull over and talk to you too, they're getting to know you. So they're, if you're super nice and bubbly, they're like, oh, I really like her. I'm definitely gonna get something to remember. They're like, oh, okay. And I made business cards as well, because everyone asked me for business cards. Before you do something like that, make sure you have a business card, because and that kind of helped too, because putting yourself out there can be kind of like at first, but just that one mural got me so used to doing that. And so after I finished it, I went all over town, and it was so easy. Like, oh, you're the one who painted the Marshfield mural. I'm like, yeah. And I was handing them my card, and I've already got a couple of calls just from handing out business cards for 2 days in 2 different towns. It's crazy. Yeah, and I got really good at it. First, you just go in, you make a really great impression, short and sweet, and they love it. And they hold on to your cards. Some people won't, but a lot of them will, and it'll pay off.
Yeah, a lot of people won't, but some will. And yeah, so it made you relevant too. And just because, with the butterfly mural downtown, like, I can just say, like, hi, I did this. And they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And it just gives you so much more credibility. Yes. And so with yours, everybody in Marshfield has seen that. How many people do you think are in Marshfield? Like, what's the population, maybe?
Oh, gosh. I have no idea.
It's small.
It is small. I know there's
20,000?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, that'd probably be pretty close.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, maybe. Yeah, okay. So, and also, like, you don't have to live in a big town, is my point in that. Like, you don't have to have to live in a really big town to go and do something like this and have people start calling you. Like, Marshfield is very small, and it's about 45 minutes from where I live. So from Springfield, about 30 minutes from Springfield. And so, there's so much work, even in a really, really small town. that needs done. And she gets people that are coming up to her all the time and like, I didn't know anybody around here did this.
Exactly. Like nobody knows about you, so that's one of the things, because they don't really think about it either. And there's a couple of businesses I walked up to and I'm like, hey, your lettering looks a little weathered. I actually can take care of that for you. Here's my card. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, how much? It's just things people don't think about. But when they pull up to the building, they're like, man, I wish my lettering was touched up. But they don't know who to contact for that, and if it's something you specialize in, then they're happy to see you.
Yeah.
Which is nice when you talk to someone who's super happy to see you. And so just offering it like that too has been really nice for me. I've talked to 3 businesses like that, and they're planning on, I'm just waiting for them to say, yes, come do it now.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know when, but yes, very soon.
It's such a long game too. Like,
yes.
I just had an email this morning with someone. They're like, we'll do it sometime. And I know they will. And but it might be a year from now. And
yeah.
So
whenever they get things in line, it just, it's business. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, I'm here. Just letting you know I'm here.
Exactly. You're putting in effort because I get a couple emails sometimes. I actually just got one maybe last week where someone was like, hi, I'm posting on Instagram every day. What am I doing wrong because I'm not getting a lot of business? And I'm like, yes, Instagram is one way of doing it. But going, door to door, handing out your business card and doing all of that is a completely other way of doing things. And that way is it's a little bit harder. Like when you were doing it, you don't exactly love going up to a brand new person and talking to them. And you're like, hi, hire me. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it works.
Definitely. Lately, I've just been kind of, as long as it's on my mind, I can bring it in naturally into a conversation. And gosh, especially if my husband's around, he just kind of throws that in there. But even at the gym, we have a couple of small business owners that work out at the gym, and we know of them. We just walk up and like, hey, you want to do a share for share on Facebook? And they're like, oh yeah, definitely. Every business owner is down to promote your business, so you want to promote theirs. So that's been a lot of help too. Just reaching out to people naturally who are interested in the same thing. And, leaving your business cards everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Business cards are cheap.
Yeah, very cheap.
Okay, and so yeah, I just want to emphasize, you're doing all this in person. And, online, I think online is some people make their entire living on Instagram and stuff. I get a lot of mine from local mostly, but I think Instagram and Facebook are kind of like the cherry on top of your business. It just reminds people that you're around, and maybe you met them once, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do something, and then I post on Facebook and post on Facebook again and again, and finally they see it and they're like, oh yeah, I need to contact her or something. But so you also went from 0 to 1,000 followers on Facebook.
Yeah. And as soon as I posted that the Marshfield mural was complete, it exploded. There's almost 300 likes or whatever, which is the most I've ever gotten. So it's a lot to me.
How many shares was there though?
There's a lot.
Is there 100 yet? Or
there's well over 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And as many comments too, and it's supposedly reached over 20,000 people.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's gotten out there, and that's the last time I checked. I just had another comment yesterday on that post. So, it's continuing to go. Everyone in Marshfield shared it. So many people shared it within 10 minutes. Everyone was waiting for it to be done. So, the small town love. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It really exploded. And just from that too, I've gotten so many just Facebook messages just because I posted it on there, just asking about it, oh, what else do you do? People are just curious to know you. That's also just a small town curiosity. Yeah. Type of thing. So as long as they know of me, that's the foot in the door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think people have such a leg up when you live in a small town like this because, there's not a ton of competition for one, so it's really easy to stand out. And yeah, basically that. It's really easy to stand out, and a lot of people they have a need, and it's not as giant as a, LA or Miami. There's a ton of businesses needing a ton of work, and there are already a lot of artists out there. Where in a small town, there's still businesses needing work, and there are not so many artists.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know of another one in town. I believe there has to be, because I've seen some work, but I haven't met them. I haven't seen them. They haven't been heavily talked about. They're not promoting. That's not what they do full time. So that's just kind of a thing that I'm bringing to the town too, I think.
Yeah.
It's exciting and a little intimidating, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. There's going to be so many new murals in the next year. I'm excited to sit down again in like a year and be like, and we did this one and you did this one. And
Yeah. I was super excited. And she posted a map of all the murals she did in Springfield. And I'm like, ooh, one day.
Yeah.
That's my next goal, is I'll have a map of Marshfield. Go see them all.
Yeah.
How cool will that be?
And that was the goal that I had too. It was coming to Springfield, and I was like, I want to create a map or like a guide for like, you can go here and here and here. And I updated it the other night, and the last time I had updated it, there were like 6 or 7 murals on it, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of cool to see. A year and a half later, there's double that. And so it's so fun. Yeah. I love it. I love this strategy, because you're basically doing exactly what I did. That's what I love about coaching you, because I'm like, do this, and you don't argue with me.
Nope, I'm like, yes ma'am.
And you're not like you didn't have a ton of artist experience before this, too, so you didn't have any bad habits. Because a lot of artists are like, no, I do it like this, I'm just gonna do this, and I'm like, no, like, do this.
Oh, I feel so fortunate.
Yeah. That's why I like coaching you, because you're just like, okay, I'll do it. Even if it's uncomfortable, or even if I don't want to, or and like even with like doing some of the LLC stuff, it's like you might not do it this week, but it'll get done this month or something, but you still do it.
Yep, I just kind of created a little checklist in my mind, and I've slowly gotten it all, leveled down. The organization has really helped me. As long as I keep everything in line, especially since I don't have anything else to worry about being full-time, I'm like, oh, I can do all of this in one day. How cool is that? Setting everything aside. But yeah, no, I had like completely forgotten like all the technicalities of color and everything from college and stuff. And I remember when we were doing the pizza wings, you mentioned a blue-gray, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's different kinds of gray. I would have blue to this. And so that was something else. I really just went home and looked up the color wheel. I was like, oh yeah, and just like brushed myself up on all of the basics, and so I did feel like a blank canvas at that point, which was a little stressful, but I was like, okay, Andrea's there. I know I can message her or call her, and she'll be like, yeah, do this.
I like how you're like, yeah. Oh, it's funny. Let's talk about the stress of it, and just be honest, like how stressful has this been? But like, I know it's been fulfilling as well, but like, how stressful has this been?
It has been a little bit stressful. Like when I go and help with you on a project, I would just follow your lead completely. Of course, it's your project. I'm following. I'm there to help and learn. And whenever you were like, oh, just call me if you need help on the Marshfield mural. It's like, okay. And so I was like determined to call you the least amount as possible. I was like, you will do this. So I was super determined, and that was really stressful. I mean, a car. The Marshfield mural has a car in it, and it's massive, and it's the focal point. So that was really, really stressful. I hadn't done a car before. There's so many little details and making it look perfect, and the thing about a car is that everybody knows what it looks like, so you can't mess that up. And I mean, that was a lot of stress too, and just like knowing landscape too, like where to start with that kind of stuff. I mean, just not knowing how to do something, like with every new job, this is just like any other new jobs, the training that goes into starting it. You're like, man, this is so uncomfortable. But then when you get running with it, you're super comfy. You're like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Makes you feel so good because oh, I got this kind of a thing. I feel like I'm closer to that point now, which even though I just started out, I'm like so comfortable. Like someone asked me to do a crawl, I'm like, no problem. I have that in the bag now. But it was pretty stressful at first, just wanting to be better than I was so badly. And, a lot of people will try to rush that process, rush through that, beginning stage. And I'm definitely one of those people. Yeah. I do not like that uncomfortable feeling. I just want to know. So that has been stressful for me because I just want to, it's kind of like a race, when you're running, it sucks. But when you're done, you're like, oh my gosh, I just did that. And that's the feeling that you have after a mural, and it's all so worth it.
Yeah, you get to look back on this like giant 30 by 8 foot thing and be like, exactly. I did that. Yes, and it's fantastic. It's such a good reward. Yeah. So I'll do it again and again and again. Good, because you're about to.
Yes.
Awesome. So, let's talk about leaving your job. So you were on, is it like furlough or?
Yes, I was on furlough.
Thank gosh.
Yes, I had an excellent job. Still, it just went against the grain. I knew that it was a temporary thing, just because I wasn't happy. But like I said, I was willing to support my family no matter what. So I went to work every day with a smile on my face. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a person that worked harder than me. That's just kind of how my work ethic is in the first place. But I felt so bad because it was such a good job. And that might be somebody else's struggle as well. And like, oh, I have a good job. I have security. I have all these things. But are you happy? That's the thing that really got me. My husband set me down and he's like, are you happy? He's like, we'll be fine. And just hearing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you.
Support.
Yeah. Just a blanket of support. And I'm like, no. No. But, when they called me and they're like, hey, we're going to get up and running again soon. We noticed that you're doing a lot of fun things in the art world. Are you coming back? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that just proves to me more that you guys are just fantastic. I was like, I actually have accepted the position of just, being a full-time artist. And he was really happy for me.
I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
My boss says I can't work for you.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. And, ending that and getting off the phone with that, I just kind of sat there for a minute. And I was like, is this happening?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, whoa. And actually, a week later, I had a previous job that I was inquiring about with excellent benefits and just amazing. It was an amazing job. They called me and offered me a job.
Oh wait,
just out of the blue.
Oh okay.
Yeah, like a week ago.
Oh my gosh.
And that's after I had gone full time. And she also knew about me. And this is all like Marshfield. She's like, oh, I've seen. I'm like, oh, you have. She's like, I just know she went full time. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I turned that down too. That was almost harder because it was even better. And the benefits. But that's a job I would have never left.
Exactly.
And I would have never been happy.
I'm going to point that out too because you were talking about that job months ago and you were still like really upset that you didn't get it. And you really felt like that was going to be the job that would have been awesome. It was perfect for you. I think you said that several times and you didn't get it and you were really bummed. But thank gosh you didn't get it.
Right.
And it's so funny that just after, you went full time, it was like within a week or of days or whatever, after you went full time, they called and were like, hey, how about you come work for us? And you're like, oh, it's just like, it's such weird timing of everything.
And it's weird and it's perfect all in the same time. As if all of this, and COVID, if all of it didn't happen in this specific order, none of this would have happened because nothing would have made me leave that job because it was so... the security of it.
The benefits.
I would have overlooked my happiness for all time.
Yeah.
The hours, everything about it, it's a great job for someone to have, especially somebody with a family. But, yeah, I chose happiness, and it feels amazing.
Yeah, I chose happiness. That's the thing. And you're still going to be working really hard, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm busy.
Yeah, and being out in the sun stinks. Like doing murals, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
But you're happy.
I am, yes. And, I like to challenge myself too. And, it's always a challenge. Like, yesterday I got to paint in a garden. It was fantastic. Sometimes it was sunny and other times it was shaded and wonderful. Yeah,
exactly.
It's just
the damn sun.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, but it's way better than showing up every day and having to prepare yourself to go into a building you don't want to be in. Just that feeling. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. It's just that dying feeling that you're not doing what you're meant to do. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
That can change.
That can change. This is a perfect example of it. And so if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't hate my job, because that's what actually a lot of students tell me. They're like, I don't hate my job. I would just rather not work at it. Or, I like what I do. I don't like my coworkers. Or I like, the commute is too much. Or so there's always a little bit of something. But either you get paid enough, or, it's everything that you thought you wanted, and so you stay because you went to school for it, and just all of that. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, I hope you get fired. I hope they fire you and kick you out and make you start an art career, and then I hope you go paint a mural in a very public place. Because that's a really big element to this whole thing, is she painted a mural in a public place after leaving a job that she hated. And everything is working out.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about it. Do you have anything to add? Or I was trying to think if I had anything to add. I don't think so.
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay.
In this part.
Awesome. So we'll update you on this journey that Samantha is on. It's super, super early. But yeah, so if you're listening and you've done everything else, you're posting on the gram and you're doing all the other things, have you painted a mural yet? Because that could be the thing that catapults your art career into full-time. And, it worked for me, it worked for her, it worked for several other people, and it's just a strategy that I hope you guys really take into consideration, and I would love to help you with that strategy, just like I help Samantha. I really get like a high out of this, because I know what it's like to, not want to really go to work and get your first mural job and get your first commission, and then get to buy supplies for your actual job. I love it. And this is the best job in the world. It really is, which is why I am so passionate about teaching other muralists to do what I do. So just like Samantha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, and I hope you go paint a mural. Okay, bye. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly, and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So, if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am at @ArtByAndreaEarhart. I will then promote your art on my story and tag you as a little thank you for helping me grow this podcast and our Artist Academy community. I have a reach of over 50,000 on Instagram, so this is a little help me to help you incentive. Also, if you ever want your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy to check out the schedule every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you next week.